This video is about hackers. Not the ones you see in the movies, not even the ones plastered across the news being labeled as cybercriminal masterminds. No, today I want to talk about the real hackers. I'm talking about the weird kids who spent all of their time on the computer, the same ones who would eventually turn their curiosity into power. They're all around us. Chances are you probably even know a hacker. Maybe it's the star employee in your office, the one who always has free time because they've automated their entire job with just a few lines of code. You might find them dumpster diving or lurking in forgotten warehouses, searching for old hardware to turn into something extraordinary. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. You can see them sitting across from you at the library, building a billion-dollar darknet empire. But most of the time, you can't see them at all. The last video I posted on this channel covered the origins of hacking, tracing all the way back to the 1960s at MIT. But in today's video, we're going to talk about when hacking went mainstream. You're watching Internet Underground. This is the rise of hacker culture.
Single computers now run national networks of cashier terminals at banks and building societies. On a conservative estimate, at least 50,000 computers are now in business and government use. But the rise of the computer has brought its own problems. In particular, how do you keep greedy fingers out of the computer till? Computer crime has become so sophisticated that the criminal can instruct the computer to fiddle its owner and then instruct the computer to forget it did it.
The arrival of the 1980s marked the beginning of what is now considered the golden age of hacking. More people were getting online as the result of the increase in sales of home computer systems. There's no doubt about it, the culture was changing. ARPANET was morphing into the internet, and the popularity of bulletin board systems exploded. Books and magazines were published, conferences and events took place, laws were put forward, and arrests were made. So much happened in the 80s that I really have no idea if I can get through all the crazy stuff that happened in one of these 5-minute segments. But I'll give it a shot. 1981, the Chaos Computer Club is formed, the first ever hacker group of its kind, now recognized as Europe's largest hacker association. Despite what you may think from the name, these are actually some of the good guys.
Sharing information is one of the key principles of hackerdom.
But sometimes the bad guys are just more interesting. That same year, Ian Murphy, also known as Captain Zap, sparked headlines when he was deemed the first hacker to be tried and convicted as a felon after breaking into A&T's network to change the internal clocks that metered billing rates. Murphy received a $1,000 fine and 2.5 years of probation. Probably a good thing they got him too. Guy was a bit of a wacko. 1982 saw the rise and fall of the 414s, 6 Milwaukee teens who made headlines for breaching Security Pacific Bank. They disbanded shortly after the FBI came knocking. By 1983, Kilobot emerged. Later rebranding to Firm, this group became infamous after publishing a guide on how to hack Bank of America. Later on in the summer, MGM came out with War Games, the first mainstream film about hackers.
We're in.
It's my second favorite hacker movie. One more thing, the internet was actually technically created this year, although it wouldn't be widely used until the mid-90s. 1984, big year for hacking. It starts off in Texas with the birth of the Cult of the Dead Cow. These guys are super awesome, like seriously. Their name came to be because the group was formed in an actual slaughterhouse. They threw crazy parties, made mixtapes, and are even credited with coining the hacker slang elite. Also, kind of random, but while working on this video, I discovered that apparently American politician Beto O'Rourke was once a member of the CDC. What the fuck? Someone by the alias of Lex Luthor starts the Legion of Doom. This hacker group was actually known for being pretty exclusive, with only the best of the best being allowed to join. This all changed when one of their best hackers started some beef. He got kicked out and went on to start a rival hacker group, Masters of Deception.
You can believe it.
The Chaos Computer Club holds its first Chaos Communication Congress, one of the first organized hacker conferences. Later on, they also started something called the Chaos Communication Camp, and it's exactly how you imagine it. On BBS, a few hackers started something called 2600 the Hacker Quarterly, named after the Hertz tone of the toy whistle found in boxes of Captain Crunch. 2600 broadcasted user-submitted hacking tips and stories. It's still published online and in print to this day. You can literally find these at Barnes & Noble. 1984 also introduced some important literature with books including Hackers, Heroes of the Computer Revolution. Written by Stephen Levy, this book tells the origin story of hackers and defines the hacker ethic. Very dense and reads a bit like a textbook, but nonetheless, super helpful for this video. William Gibson's sci-fi novel Neuromancer was also released. Now considered a classic amongst hackers, this book actually helped birth the cyberpunk genre. 1985 had its own fair share of publications released, first with Frack magazine, which at the time was considered an e-zine. It was quite similar to 2600 the Hacker Quarterly and was pretty influential during its time. The Hacker's Handbook was also published this same year. 1986, astronomer Clifford Stoll plays a pivotal role in tracking down infamous hacker Marcus Hess. It was quite the cat and mouse chase and would later be immortalized in Stoll's book, The Cuckoo's Egg. This year, we also saw the arrest of Legion of Doom member The Mentor. Known for his iconic hacker manifesto written shortly after his arrest, this document would become a cornerstone for hacker culture after it was published by Frack magazine. After all these arrests, Congress would go on to pass the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which officially made it a crime to break into computer systems. This didn't really scare off a lot of hackers though, because in 1986, we were introduced to the brain virus. Developed by two brothers in Pakistan, it infected the boot sector of floppy disks. Its creation marked the beginning of a new era in cybersecurity threats. 1987 brought the bizarre Max Headroom signal hijacking incident. This tale has been told to death, but I personally still think it holds its own place within hacker culture. In 1988, IRC, Internet Relay Chat, was created by a Finnish programmer whose name I don't really want to try to pronounce. This protocol for real-time messaging between internet-connected computers revolutionized online communication. Another virus hits computers this year when the Morris worm was unleashed. This was actually one of the first worms to gain significant media attention and would go on to infect thousands of computers. It also resulted in the first felony conviction under the newly minted Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. You'll never guess it, but even more viruses were introduced in 1989. First with the AIDS Trojan, the first ransomware attack. It encrypted users' files and demanded a ransom for their release. It showcased the dark potential of cyber extortion that we're all too familiar with today. That same year, the Worms Against Nuclear Killers, also known as the Wank Worm, targeted NASA's computers, protesting against nuclear weapons. This attack was one of the first that demonstrated the use of hacking as a form of activism. Finally, some guy by the name of Kevin Mitnick is in prison. That was a lot. It kind of felt like a fever dream to me. Anyways, the 1980s were a pretty great decade for hacker culture. And Blue Monday by New Order, wicked song. All right, next part.
You didn't say the magic word.
Please! God damn it! Hate this hacker crap. Calling that just
Yo, kinda feel like God.
I'm ready when you are. Gigabyte of RAM should do the trick.
Access denied.
I don't believe it. Thermoptic camouflage.
Ground 5.